Hi, everyone, and welcome. We are June 7th, and this is the K8s Infra meeting. Still a reminder that this meeting is under the code of conduct, so I invite everyone to be kind to each one in this call. I will need a note taker. I will be the host. Any volunteer?
I got it.
Okay, this time it's gonna be Jiffy. Thank you, Jiffy. So before we start, do we have anyone new in this call want to do some quick introduction? No obligation to do it.
I'm new.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, my name is Jan. I am at Kubernetes and hopefully I'll be able to help.
Welcome. Welcome to the gang. We really appreciate what Kubernetes is doing for us. So happy to see more people.
Hey everyone, my name is Yash. I'm also new here. Just looking forward to contribute to more issues and helping to speed up.
Okay, welcome. Also, folks, please don't forget to put yourself in the attendee list because I see number of participants not matching the number of attending. So thank you so much. That's all. Okay, do we have someone else? Okay, so next, billing report. Let me go to page. Let me go back. Is there like, I did a quick check and also Rian provides some updates. So I'm like, do we want to go in depth in the billing report for AWS?
I don't think we need to.
Okay, I have one vote.
I am not the overlord of all things, so it's just one minor vote.
Yeah, that's one vote. That's like no vote, and one vote is like a +1 for me. Let me check last month, a list. I don't see anything changing here. Well, slowly growing, and this also is slowly growing compared to last month. Can we compare to previous month? I'm not sure we can because it's like just how I'm gonna do this. Yeah, let me previous last month. Let's see something. Oh, nice, 2% compared to April. We also, the security incident also, we bring back down the cost of accuracy to kind of normal thing. So hopefully that should be enough. I think we're on track, kind of.
It's pretty excellent to see the change in the artifact registry after we fixed the S3 buckets.
Yeah, I think we made a mention of that in the last meeting, that we have a graph showing huge decrease in cost just for
Yes, we do.
We did talk about it. It's just nice to see now that we have all the data that it is actually down over 50%.
Okay.
That explains those costs were a lot higher than we were expecting.
Okay. So I think we're good on GCP costs here. So I think we can go over the best. Any question about GCP specifically? Yes, no, I don't see all the screen, so.
Nope, nothing in chat. We're good to move.
Thank you. Yeah, AWS. Do I have that right? Let me mask. How I'm breaking stuff. Benview. What is Benview? Benview. I can do last month. Yeah, for May. I don't see something specific. We still. Oops. Wait. Yeah. No, I think, yeah, this view is better. Yeah. So yeah, registry is still the highest cost because we don't cover all the region. And Pro is slowly growing. Let me put that. Oh yeah, let me do this way. Okay. If I compare, yeah, Pro didn't grow up that much. I'm surprised. But still growing. So yeah, I think we'll make progress. And the rest is basically mostly things we know about, the CI from Kappa, artifact.aso.io, and that's it. Any question? Any concern?
Yeah, I think if we look at the cost updates that I did at the bottom, it tells about the same story. I think we should be, the way it runs now, be around 2 million at the end of the year. There doesn't seem to be, there's a massive change happening now. It's slowly creeping down on the one side, and AWS is slowly growing. So AWS already 59%. It was 2 or 3 weeks ago, or 2 or 3 meetings ago, it was around about 45, and now it's almost 60%. So AWS is nicely growing to match. And also the credits looking good, 250,000 left of the current budget.
Okay. Just quick FYI, cost for AWS will go down again this year by end of the year. So yeah, cost will still update, and costs, is it going? Yeah, no. I'm rephrase. Costs related to AWS will go down by end of the year, and costs related to EKS will go up. Also EC2. That's a pretty accurate prediction based on what we want to do for the next month, for the next incoming month. No questions?
I have a quick question. Do we have any estimation, or are we getting ready to utilize AWS's savings plan for reserve instances? Do we have persistent expected usage on that matter?
No, because we don't exactly know how many CPU memory we're going to consume over time, because we're doing currently job migration. So it's hard to get an estimate. And currently, because of our overall budget, I'm not sure. I don't think doing saving plans for compute is worth it this year.
There are also some solutions for the EC2 side for marketplace, AWS reserve instance marketplace visualization with automated third-party solutions. Do we want to check that out?
Yeah, the problem with having this approach is basically we don't want to do cost optimization right now because we don't have a full understanding of our AWS infrastructure. We don't currently, I don't want to say full understanding, but more like we don't capture the entire AWS infrastructure we plan to have in, I will say, for example, 2024, because we still have things we need to balance between GCP and AWS. So until we get that right, there's no really plans to do capacity planning and cost optimization right now. And our budget is fine to accept any kind of experiment, basically do running things pretty naively without look at basically how we can do spot instance, compute savings, cloud from bundles, stuff like that. I think right now we are fine enough to, until we have everything owned by the community.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay, we go next, or okay, next. So two meetings ago, James asked about basically how we can get basically the remaining images representing the actual cost for casegcr.io. I don't know if we can get that in the next 2 weeks. And my question is targeted to
I
Google
think
Page
you
Infra.
can. So one thing you need to do is label the buckets that you've got in a project, and then you should be able to understand which set of labels are costing X.
What do we want to know?
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute. Go ahead.
So in 2 meetings, we had a conversation with Ben, Justin, James. James was asking about basically how we can add more image registry from kgcr.io to the new registry. And I think we were in agreement on getting that information first, because before we move to any conversation. So it was considered as an AI. So I'm not sure if we still want to do that.
And I think that AI was on me, right? And if so, I haven't yet had time.
Okay.
But I can still do it. If we don't want to do it, then that's fine. But I did the analysis before, so I assume that's why the AI, I think, fell on to me.
Did I saw James in the call?
Yeah, he's here
Okay.
chatting.
Okay, James say yes.
Thanks, Justin. Let's do one more planning cycle, just to get a next set of 10 images and like see if we want to do it at all, right? Like, I'm not saying that we should do it. I just want to see what will show up in that bucket. Then we can decide whether to do it or not. And at this point, like, I don't want to go increase the workload on all the Googlers that are behind the scenes, handling the casegcr.io, unless we really think that, we would make a dent in something or the other, right?
Without looking at individual images, just looking at the overall bandwidth graphs, like, we have dropped it off so much. You can also just see that, like, the K8s Artifacts prod project has dropped. Instead of being like 60+%, it's less than half of our spend, even though it still includes the new artifact registries. So I've just been keeping an eye on those overall metrics for whether or not, and my current recommendation is that we're letting that traffic age out.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I just want one data point.
So, okay, we good on having that when Justin is able to provide it, and we can come back to that conversation again and get some kind of consensus on this.
Just so you all know, I cleaned out the last image that was there in the Docker Hub registry. I don't know if you know those things, so I cleaned them out today. So there were 3 tags on the pause image, and if you go, it's empty now. I got access to it from Tim Hawken, and I went and cleaned that out just an hour or so ago.
The Kubernetes
Yeah,
Docker Hub org.
I closed that one. Yeah.
There's some other ones that look similar that like we don't actually control. Someone has a like Kubernetes IO org.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the one that we know about.
Yeah, this is like the one we know about. So
Yeah.
it's completely empty right now. So, oops, why cannot? No tag, no image, no tag. So
No image, no tags. Yeah.
But if you search for pause, you'll find some of the ones that actually look. Some of them look fairly official, and we don't control them.
Yes. Yeah. Of typo squatting. Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. There's what is Ventures having this own, Google having its own, Kubernetes having its own. So, yeah, we're still gonna have people trying to having a fork copy or whatever. So at least we have the main one. We don't have to care about anymore.
Yeah.
10 million pulls, 13 stars, rookie numbers. What's going on?
It's the images were minted eight years ago. So anyway, sorry. Let's go on.
Cool. Okay, we can jump into open discussions, right? Yeah, okay. So first start with me. There's a draft of an article about basically announcing DL.K8s will use a CDN to serve binaries. So I put the link of the pull request opening. So I invite people doing some kind of review. There's a preview if you want to read the current state of the article. We hope to get that merged by end of the week. So invite everyone to drop comments, do some review. And that's all for me.
It looks like it's merged already.
What? Already? Wait, what? Let me see. Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, Nate just yellowed it.
Still not published.
Yeah, if the date is further in the future, it won't go live until that date.
Yeah, it won't go live until Friday.
Okay.
Also, when did we get rid of the red banner on the page?
That was K8s.dev, not Kubernetes.io. Oh wait, no, it is Kubernetes.io. Never mind.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I think there's an expiration date on the banner, on the red banner. So it's possible when you added that, there might be a hidden expiration date that revert back to normal. So we can either.
Do you want me to extend that, or is it like done and dusted?
Is it really a problem to have that clean and back to normal? Because I think it's not really changed anything. We kept that for like 3 months. Traffic didn't go up, or we still have like 55% of traffic captured by the new registry. So I don't think it's worth maintaining that banner.
All right, sounds good. Also, did Google max out the redirects, or are they like they're still doing select set of images?
Yeah, I think that's come back to the question that basically come back to the request by teams about getting a new data point to see if it's worth doing add another image for the redirect. So we might have a conversation and get about this.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I think we should just max it out and put this whole episode behind us.
Okay. So I'm done about the blog post. Next is Patrick. Let me put. Do you want to present something, or just want to talk about?
You can just open those links that I've put here. Maybe let's start with the first one. So yeah, I just want to briefly discuss the GitOps solution that we introduced to the EKS Pro build cluster. So here on the bottom, there's a GitHub section, and it describes how to create customizations and how you can basically deploy things to our clusters without having direct access, basically through GitHub. So yeah, there is some, I mean, I don't want to get into the details. You can read it on your own, and you can reach me out later. Yeah, it's the GitHub section. It describes how to install it on the empty cluster and also how to extend what we already have. So yeah, as you can see, it is based on Flux CD. If you are wondering why not any other GitHub solution, to be honest, there was no like, I mean, it was based on a subjectively, it was based because it subjectively feels like a simpler solution than, for instance, Argo. But if we have any like strong arguments, I guess we can simply migrate this. It shouldn't be really that hard. It's not that much of an automation. So yeah, we have some dashboards on Grafana so that you can track if the thing that you added, if it has been successfully deployed. What it's missing right now and what we need to still improve is to present somehow what type of error happens if something goes wrong. But this could be achieved through probably Loki connected to Grafana with some logs from specific controllers that Flux has, or maybe notifications. This is something that we can work on. To be honest, I don't really know if we have already some notifications, if we leverage them, if it's easy to get some, let's say, Slack token, I don't know. We can consider that. It's not like must have, as we can also configure Loki, as I said before. Yep, so this is it. If you want to discuss any alternatives, I'm open. If you have any comments, questions, yeah, we can discuss quickly right now, or you can reach me out later. So yeah, that would be it from my end.
Yeah, I have a question for you. So, can you just go to the Markdown document, in the second tab? Can you split this document so that there's a section, the bootstrap section, right? There should be something that you run one time on a cluster when you create it, and you don't really need to do it. And then there should be a section where people who are writing new stuff for the cluster, where they need to look at. Because
yeah, I mean,
yeah, like
I
for
totally
example,
agree.
I don't have access to a cluster, and I don't need to worry about deploying Flux, but I do need to know how to generate the customized files and the CRDs for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. We still haven't added the monitoring section to the documentation. So yeah, I mean, we will prepare some developer dedicated, let's say, README, so that someone who's not interested in the administrative part of EKS could leverage that. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Also, most of us won't be doing the admin work at all anyway, so
Yep.
most of the docs are relevant to us.
Yeah. So basically, persona based, right? Like, so have some personas, and most of the people won't need to know how to install things from scratch.
Yeah, that's it.
And more importantly, you shouldn't have privileges to do it anyway.
I mean, this is good. Let's go with what you have and see how it works over a period of time, right? Like, so only when we start getting into the maintenance mode will we know the actual problems. Hey, somebody is not there, so we can't. We don't know what is happening. You know, things like that, right? Like, it should be. We should be able to. People who are watching it should be able to tell what it's doing reasonably well. And when it goes bad, we should all get to know one way or another, right? So some alarms, monitoring, that kind of stuff. will be good.
Thanks, James Patrick. This is good work. A lot of the common patterns I've seen with Flux used elsewhere and also here.
Right. One simple pattern for the errors is probably going to be just email people when something when the GitOps operation itself fails. Then just send out an email or reopen a GitHub issue like we do in publishing bot. One of those two, simple. It works.
Sounds good.
Okay, any other questions regarding this before we move to the next point? Okay, Marco, you're next.
Yeah. Do you want me to share the screen or you want to go through the board?
I have the board showing, so I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, sure. So here's the thing. I have worked in the past week on adding a new dashboard that's going to allow monitoring the resource consumption of Prow jobs. This is one of the key blockers that we have for migrating jobs from default Google internal Kubernetes cluster to EKS Prow build cluster, because in EKS Prow build cluster, you need to specify for each Prow job resource request and limits. And in default cluster, jobs running there don't have that. Most of them don't have that. And the idea, this is some work that we did internally in Kubernetes a few years ago, actually, when we migrated to Prow, is to have a dashboard, this one concretely, that's like going to show the memory usage and CPU usage for pods that are basically running Prow jobs. And it is showing the status of that and how it works. Basically, there are multiple dashboards. Like you can send information on organization level or repo level or something like that. But this build dashboard is the most important one. And as you can see on the screen, like it presents you for a job that you select, you can see memory usage, you can see CPU usage. I think memory usage is like the most straightforward thing. Like it shows how much memory is needed. CPU is a little bit more complicated because of both Go Max procs, so Go is trying to use more CPU than it can, then some throttling comes in the effect. And like it's hard to estimate like how much exactly CPU you're going to need. That's more going to be based on like trial and error. Like you're going to try to reduce CPU, you're going to look at the graph like to see if overthrottling is happening too often, and you're eventually going to see if the job duration got increased, if flakiness increased, and stuff like that. One thing that I noticed in this scenario and like while going through jobs, I think we quite a lot overestimated memory usage for all jobs. And I think this is something that we perhaps should work on and like try to figure out like how to reduce the job and make sure everything is working. Like, as you can see in this job, it is requesting about, I don't know, 24 gigabytes of RAM, but the actual usage is like not even close to 10. So such thing can be reduced. But this is mainly for now, the main purpose is like to drive the migration forward so folks can open the dashboard, find their job, see what's exactly the resource usage, and based on that, adjust requested limits.
Any question? I don't have a specific comment about this. I just want to say this is great. This is awesome. Other than that, I don't have a specific comment. Keep going.
It looks like Ben has a question.
Ben, you
Yeah,
have a question.
I would say this is really great. I just want to point out that when we're looking at things like, oh, is this the most efficient scheduling or whatever? Looking at memory usage, like that specific example, usually we're constrained on scheduling CPU. So reducing the memory allocation to a job doesn't help us schedule more workloads, and it does increase the odds that a pod gets killed or something. And like things will react in behavior based on how much memory is available to them performance wise. So I would keep that in mind in the future when looking at this dashboard. I think for most of them, we want to dial in a reasonable amount of CPU limit, and that the amount of memory we allocate should probably be based on the shape of the underlying machine, the like ratio of CPU to memory, because CPU is almost always our most constrained resource. It's possible we find evidence that it changes, but I don't know. I've looked at a lot of CI job workloads, and I don't think we're going to find that. And it's probably fine and expected that we're over allocating memory to pods.
Yeah, I agree with Ben. That's why I said I think like resource optimization for existing jobs shouldn't be like too big priority. The main driver for this is like to have to facilitate migration for jobs that don't have any resource and limits, so that folks have at least some tool to more easily figure out what's going on and how they should adjust their jobs.
Yeah, this is still super useful to have. It's hard to get a good idea if things are being like heavily throttled or where that's at. We don't have good visibility for job authors today.
Are there any other questions? Of course, you can always reach out to me on Slack and we can discuss if there are any questions or anything. Okay, I would go to the next topic if that's okay. Yeah. So jobs migration update. As some of you might know, we had an outage for the Google internal Prow build cluster, so jobs were not getting started. And because of US holidays that weekend where this happened, a lot of folks were trying to find the solution. One of the solutions was to migrate jobs to EKS Prow build cluster, because we have more coverage in terms of support, like folks who can jump and fix if something is wrong. And we actually had some major repos migrate as much as possible. And this includes test infra. A lot of test infra jobs are migrated. Ones that are not migrated are those requiring access to the Google infra, like to push images. Those are still in place. There are other projects like Q, I think it is called like that. There is cluster API provided for AVS, and probably some other projects that migrated. I think everything is working quite well so far. No major issues. Like there were no major issues. Some smaller issues about resource limits and requests, but that got fixed. That was mainly for Kappa. The next step would be to like push forward the communication side to come up with some good documentation on how you can migrate, what should be migrated, and how to proceed with that. I'm interested to work on that. I have some idea how that can look like. However, I am on PTO, which is since last Friday until like this week and next week. So I'm back week of June 19. But as soon as I'm back, I'm going to pick that up and to try to move forward with that and to see what we can help with jobs migration.
Any comment?
I had a question, not necessarily for Marco, but thanks for Marco for providing that context on, the problem that happened and how we were able to mitigate some of it. But the question is, how many Prow clusters do we have, and where are they running, and who has access? I went looking for it and I couldn't find it in a single location. Ben, go ahead.
you can find in a single location in the file.
Yeah, that didn't have the EKS pro.
Yeah, that's one here. You
Yeah,
have EKS.
they're
You
all
have
there.
to do. Yeah, they're all there. So if you want to basically know the list of cluster, you could just come here with. Yeah, you will know. Now, do we now to document that somewhere else? Yes. It's just no one felt that as a priority to.
Right,
document
but does this have the Google default cluster?
Yeah,
default. First one is default. First one is default owned by Google. Last one is owned by Google. In the middle, those are community owned.
Right. We need to put this information somewhere for sure, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The other one that we were talking about that day was, in most of the prod job definitions, the cluster is not mentioned, and cluster, since the cluster is default, then we were talking about, hey, can we put cluster : default there to indicate so that we can have a count of how many jobs are running where and how many are actually running in the default cluster using grep kind of thing, right? Or write some scripts to go around figuring out like how many jobs are there, where are they running, how many of them can we move from here to there, that sort of a thing we can start doing, right? Like we can go tell SIGs saying, hey, SIG, you have this many jobs running in this cluster, can you move this to that cluster, kind of information. Go ahead, Ben.
I don't think we actually wanted to centralize tracking that. I think that's gonna be a big headache. I think we want to put out a good PSA outlining for people why it's valuable to them and us to migrate and what sort of jobs make sense, and just let them migrate what they can, and then we can evaluate what's left. And I believe you already found that we have the config loading, like Prow has a package that's aware of loading the config properly, that does all the defaulting and everything, and we don't want to add the field to every job.
I mean, the technical reason why we didn't want to do it was because the config map is going to grow in size, right? But other than that, it is good to have that data.
But we can also get the data without enforcing that people add this to like boilerplate to every job. Like it's noise to actually have it on disk, and if it doesn't have the cluster field, then we know what it is, and it's more reliable to actually load the config with the package. If we need to have a count, we can set up some very small tool with that, but I think we should take that same energy and invest in telling all of the SIGs how they can migrate and why they would want to do that.
So
that's fair.
Yeah, I think right now we need to basically push the SIGs to start basically think about basically migration. I think that's the one thing, and provide documentation on how. I think the one thing I will be interested in is like see document that guide migration. And we literally say to people, you should specify the cluster field, because it's explicit, we know where it's running in that migration guide. And from that, we push now the different SIG to do the migration, because we'll be talking about improving Proud job maintenance for like now 3 years is not a priority for most of the SIG. So I think this is like one of the things where we have to be really push about this.
Yeah, and the thing that I've also noticed is like, unless there is an urgency, people don't move, right? So we can't get them folks to do anything unless there is a real urgency. This exhibit A in that is what I was doing last weekend, which was to send emails to different not emails, opening up GitHub issues for all the SIGs saying, hey, here are your 10 jobs that have been failing for the last year or so, right? So I was sending those kinds of GitHub issues, and we had two CA jobs which are failing on our side for 3 months too. So, and nobody looks at it because there is no urgency, right? So we got to create the urgency somehow and I don't know how to do that, and I'm looking for ideas.
I mean, this is the kind of task that shards out really well. We've done some similar ones recently where I was like, hey, we should be using E2 nodes for builds, and contributors just sharded out that work and PR'd all the repos and updated it. The config has so many jobs that trying to centralize keeping track of all of them. I mean, SIG testing hasn't been able to keep on top of that, and we're not even responsible for all the rest of the infrastructure. But if you put up a call to action that says, like, you can flip this one config field and then keep an eye on if the job works, and here's some guidance on which jobs might make sense. It doesn't even have to be everybody from all the SIGs. For when we can't get the SIGs involved, the rest of us can like review and approve those PRs. And you don't even have to have access to any of this or be an expert in any of it. In most jobs where it will work fine, you're literally just going to add one field and say cluster, EKS proud build done. Just add that field to the job and send that PR, and then just be around to check if the job starts failing and revert it. And you don't have to be the owner there, but at the same time, like if we try to personally do all that, it's too big of a task. It's the perfect kind of task to put up like lint failures or something and just ask people to work on it. I think if we can even get a fraction of the project to pick this up, it will go pretty well, and we'll move a lot of jobs, and then we can start looking at what's left. And we don't actually have to get like people to personally do this for their own. We'll ask them to, but it's okay if someone else picks it up.
Marco has had his hand up for a little while.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Go ahead, Marco.
One thing that I wanted to mention is we had a discussion in some channels, and the idea that we had is that we come up with a sort of data spreadsheet whatsoever that's going to include like a list of jobs that make sense to migrate. And the way we thought, this is something that I also had a chance to discuss with Hippie, and Dims also came up with some spreadsheet, is that based on stuff like labels, the environment variables that jobs are using and stuff like that, we can relatively reliably find out what jobs are good candidate to be moved. For example, if you see a job that's using GCP by, I don't know, using the preset with GCP credentials, that's like something that we don't want to migrate. There are also jobs like even that might make sense to migrate. This is using the E2E test for ABS, for example, but this is something that has to be coordinated with us, with maintenance of that EKS Power Build cluster, because we need to keep an eye on stuff like Bosco's pool and to make sure that we have enough accounts and a bunch of other stuff. So the idea was try to come up with a spreadsheet and try to do some like data magic on it and figure out what jobs might make sense to migrate, export that, and like maybe create some phased approach. Like let's first migrate jobs that are easy, like don't use anything, just run some script, make clean, make build, whatsoever. Then go to E2E jobs that are possible to migrate and stuff like that. So that's some idea that we had in mind for a while. And I think we are not that far away from it. But yeah, I currently don't have time. I mean, I'm on PTO, so I don't have time to push forward for it, but this is another thing that I'm going to push for.
Yeah, and the other thing is like we have to do it. The best time to do it is now, I guess. Otherwise, once we go down deeper into 128 release cycle, we don't want to, break things because people are going to not get good CI signal sort of thing. So that's the other thing, right? Like, so if we have to start doing it, we have to start doing it now, early. Yes, Ben.
I mean, this is a really easy thing to revert if you pick the wrong job as well. It's this one field in config. I really think we're overthinking this. I think we need to provide people with some guidance as to what sort of thing makes sense and how you change this field and what it should be, or how you add the field if it's not there. Okay. And then just put up an issue and send out an email and get contributors on it. And the worst thing that happens is people try to flip it for jobs that are like using external E2E resources where it doesn't work. And it's a trivial one-line PR to revert it back. Okay. You just remove the cluster field. I don't think we need to build a spreadsheet or a dashboard or anything. I think once we've, gotten people to work on this for a bit, we will have scaled down the problem a lot, how many jobs are remaining on the default cluster. And we probably won't even need to build anything. We can just look at the pro.k8s.io dashboard filtering for the default cluster and look at what's still there. And I don't even think we need a really detailed guide. I mean, we basically outlined it in the chairs and tech lead meeting. We could probably just go transcribe what Marco and I said in that last meeting and send it out.
Okay, so yes, Ben, I agree with you. We can do it, but I need somebody to volunteer to drive the effort.
Yeah, sorry, folks. We have 10 minutes left, and we still have like 4 things to talk about. So before, I want to basically either we have this conversation anything or in private DMs, whatever you want. We need to move forward in this meeting. So last question, Jiffy, can we make Kubernetes work on that until end of the year? Move the 2,000 pro jobs?
Yes, I would say that might make more sense to be done by the community because we're going to have to contact the SIGs anyways. But
yeah,
Kubernetes
we can empower.
Yeah,
we can empower them to basically be the evangelist or DevRel for this effort and make sure every pro job is running on community infrastructure by end of the year. So we cover 128 and 129. And
yeah,
we hopefully by December of this year, we have nothing left at Google. Is it something you are okay with this or?
oh yeah, I said yes.
Okay. Marco, Patrick, is it fine for you? I don't see the chat.
Oh, there were thumbs up. I saw thumbs ups.
Okay, good. So let's move forward.
Yep.
We can now follow up on this on Slack. Next is, I might pronounce that wrong, Jan or Jan.
Yeah, both are actually correct.
Okay.
Thanks, and I will return the favor and probably mispronounce your name, Arno.
Yeah, that's the right way.
Perfect, thanks. So from my side, just super quick, one PSA and one open-ended question. So the PSA is, I made an effort to kind of bring parity between the Grafana for build clusters. I took a look at the 10 dashboards in GCP cluster. I managed to successfully port 3 out of the 10. The other 7 had either no data or were just not relevant for what we have deployed in the EKS cluster. So I think that is reasonably good. The open-ended question, the security team or security response team from AWS has reached out that potentially we are sharing for read-only too much on the Grafana for EKS port. Mainly, I think they mentioned the node exporter. They haven't found anything sensitive, but also they said if potentially we may want to keep that even for read-only access restricted to authorized and authenticated users. At the moment, the Grafana doesn't really have ability to authorize yourself or authenticate. It's just anonymous users. But there is a thought that we can potentially split the dashboards into 2 Grafana organizations. The public will have only the super safe, whatever we feel very confident that can be exposed to everybody. And there will be then a second organization, which will be hidden only for those who are authenticated. Am I making sense?
Yeah, I think we want to lock down access, write access to the entire Grafana instance. I think that's the goal. And basically leave that this way. We just basically don't have to give write access to anyone. You just basically leave and read only.
Yeah.
Yeah. Disable authentication at maximum. Like even admin, we can just disable that.
Yeah.
So I think that
it is disabled. Writing is disabled, but the security response team mentioned that even the read-only access for the node exporter is something that triggered an alert, and they mentioned while they don't have any concrete problems with it and they couldn't find any concrete piece of information that is too sensitive, they would prefer us to have that hidden as well. And having some dashboards hidden, as far as I understand, Grafana is best done by having multiple organizations, like Grafana organizations.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think we should just follow SRC recommendation right now.
Mhm.
Let's just, yeah, let's remove any supposed dashboard that's supposed to expose sensitive information, because I think right now we only expose CPU memory resources and private IP addresses right now. So if they feel like it's too sensitive, just remove the dashboard.
I'll remove it.
I was
Yeah.
going to go opposite. Unless
No,
they-
right now, I think right now, James, let's
Yeah.
just follow to let's address SRC concern and come back with a proposal on basically layout information we want to expose, and we get the +1.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, we
All
can
right,
come
yeah,
back to this later. Yeah,
that's
let's
even
just
easier for
address
me.
the concern. Yeah. We have 3 minutes left to talk about a lot of things.
You can skip at least shadow program thing for next week, because mine was just gonna be like a 10-second update.
Okay, so Okta, you want to go first? Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, so Arnaud reached out to me, wanted to get something going with Okta. Turns out we do have a contact with Okta. The idea here was start granting access to GitHub to AWS and GCP using GitHub SSO via Okta. We have a free trial account and we are working with Okta directly to make that not a free trial account, but the free trial account is going to have a lot more of their knobs enabled than a normal account. So that's moving.
Happiness. Okay, Marco, you're next. Before you have 2 minutes.
Just before we move on from that, that's good to hear that we've found an IDP provider. So does that mean like we're parking Azure AD and we're going to use this instead?
Okta is an identity provider
It does
per
the
se.
same set of features that I'm after.
No, so basically GitHub will be the identity provider, and we want to try do authentication using GitHub and having
Yeah,
authorization
your identity
handle.
middleware thingy, yeah.
Yeah, we
Thanks
can
for calling
do
that.
we can do sync the GitHub username to Okta, and from that we make sure there's authentication in it, allow from Okta to any platform we want. And authorization is now handled by each cloud platform we want to integrate with. That's the plan. We don't need specific policy regarding MFA like what Azure proposing. We just need authentication. So I think we can start with Okta until we get Azure and improve things later. But Okta is a good start for me.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes.
Okay, so sorry, Marco, we're gonna be over time.
I just can say in 30 seconds, like I don't have anything else.
Okay.
Basically, for OBS, the core implementation is done. Like there have been like last 2 SIG release meeting, we discussed it, and like everything is merged. And like the first release that we are going to have packages built on OBS is going to be 128.0 Alpha 2, and that's going probably to happen tomorrow. So just if you're interested to keep an eye on that, we are still like going to see how comms and all that is going to look like. But for now, just know that this is going to happen. It's still not something we are going to show to end users, still testing phase. More will be decided on upcoming SIG release meetings.
Yeah, Marco, quick, this thing there. Is there a GitHub issue for planning of the sizing for the OBS network traffic?
No.
let's open that up, please, because we mentioned it a couple of times, but we haven't made any progress on that.
Yeah, we will have to figure that out.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think we want to even other than that, we also want to reach out to OBS folk to tell us what exactly is needed to push the system package to an object storage services.
Yeah, let's do the GitHub issue, put things on there, and then point it to them. So
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
We are
Thank you.
on time. Any last thing? Going once, going twice, and happy rest of the week, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.
Later, everybody.
Later.